now. Thank you for joining us on another edition of George and Mark in the Morning. We have a really fun and interesting topic on today's broadcast. The topic is baseball. Numbers never lie. I'm really excited about this topic, George. What about you?
Yeah, I'm excited as well, Mark. Especially with that movie Moneyball, it really showed how management can manipulate that payroll to maximize the team's value.
Yeah, it really did. And especially since the 2013 season just ended and free agency is just about to kick off, we want to try and look at the stats and figures from the past 13 years and see if it's really worth it for those teams to actually pay more for the wins and stats, or are they just wasting a lot of money? So if you're listening through our webcast and want to get a visual of go to the website to martingeorgeinthemorning.stsu/AIS and go to the tab Numbers Never Lie to pull up our sweet charts that we'll be talking about here. And if you're listening through the radio, we'll do our best to really describe our analysis so you can really visualize it. And also, if you guys have any questions or topics that you guys want us to discuss, call us at 1-800-AIS-STATS. That's right, 1-800-AIS-STATS. So in our first graph we have here, we're looking at a scatter graph, and we're looking at total payroll to wins by team. And we took all the teams from 2002 to 2013 and took all their salaries and their wins and put it on this graph to see, is it really worth it for teams to pay more, and do they produce more wins? So as you can see in this graph, most of it, there's just a huge cluster here in this 50 million to 150 million range. And then you got these outliers up here who are paying quite a bit of money to produce, 90 to 100 wins, but that's not happening every single year. So what we did, instead of analyzing all 30 teams, we really decided to really slice and dice and narrow it down to about 10 teams, which were the top performing teams. So as you can see in our next graph, we took the top performing teams from 2010 to 2012, which were the Atlanta Braves, the Boston Red Sox, the Detroit Tigers, Angels, Dodgers, New York Yankees, Oakland A's, Philadelphia Phillies, the Giants, Cardinals, and Tampa Bay Devil Rays. And most of these teams, they average about either from 80-plus wins to about a 90-win range. And so we looked at these teams, and we wanted to see, are these the teams that are the outliers? Are they the big market teams that are paying for all those wins? And so in our next graph here, we're still looking from 2010 to 2012. And as you can see, only 3 of them are about the big market teams. There's the Boston Red Sox, the New York Yankees, and the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, these are the teams that, they're the big market teams, and they're paying about almost $2.5 million per win. And they're producing the same amount of wins as these smaller market teams like the Atlanta Braves, the Oakland A's, the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. And these smaller market teams, are only paying about $1.2 million per win. It's pretty impressive. What do you think, George?
That's really impressive, Mark. Talk about efficiency right there.
That is pretty efficient. And, these smaller market teams obviously have a formula or method that they've established, and they know what they're doing.
Mark, so you're talking about these small and big market teams out there. Some folks may not know what you're talking about.
You know what? Great thing, George. Sometimes I get a little ahead of myself. So now, let me just clarify. Now, when I say the big market teams, I mean the teams like the LA Dodgers, the LA Angels, the Boston Red Sox, the New York Yankees. As you can see in our geographic chart, broken down by city, most of these teams have a really big payroll, as you can see with these bubble graphs. In the Northeast over here, we just have this huge cluster of the Boston Red Sox, the New York Yankees, and the Philadelphia Phillies, just having the biggest bubbles here. And then you got the LA Dodgers. They're just the big market teams. And then when you look at the smaller market or mid market teams, you got the San Francisco and Oakland A's up in the northwest, and the Atlanta Braves and the Tampa Bay Rays down here in the northeast, in the southeast. So you can really see that the big market teams up here, they're consistently paying the big dollars for trying to get those wins and those players. And not so much the smaller market teams, because they just can't consistently afford those big players.
Sorry to cut you off there, Mark. We got a caller on the line.
You're right. We do have a caller. Caller, please state your name and what questions you have, or maybe you want us to change the topic a little bit.
Hi, my name's Kyle McLean. I'm a huge fan of your show. Listen to it all the time. I noticed that you guys are kind of talking about a more total payroll to win ratio. Is it possible that you guys could look more in depth of those high performing teams and really analyze, the right or the perfect team model or mixture of a team to see, where they focus their money on? Is it batting or is it more pitching?
Thank you for your call, Kyle. Actually, that is a perfect segue into our next topic. George is actually going to, drill down into each team model and see, where each team, really focuses more of their payroll. Do they disperse it more on, pitching, or is it more on batting? Take it away, George.
Thanks, Mark. You mentioned earlier about these small market and large market teams. Now, how are these small market teams going to compete with the large market teams where, they're not like the Yankees? They don't have $250 million to spend every single year. Now, when we take a look at our sweet chart over here, we have total payroll broken down by batting, which are the bottom columns, and then we have total payroll by pitching, which are the top columns. Now, when we obviously see a trend, like these small market teams like the Braves, the A's, the Giants, and the Rays, where if they spend more money on batting, they're more likely going to have wins. Now, and then you take a look at the Rays, where they're actually spending less money every single year in batting, but they're actually also getting less wins. Now, this may be a bold assumption to say, but if you're going to be over 500 in your batting payroll, you're going to be over 500 at the end of the season.
That's a pretty bold assumption, but I can see where you're getting at.
Now that we saw how these top teams are modeled, let's see how it correlates to their production. Are these teams paying for the right production? And is it worth paying for that pitcher or that batter? Now, these two charts are going to show us why. Now, in our first chart, we have our batting production. So right here on the bottom on the x-axis, we have our batting salary over the league average, and then on the y-axis, we have the runs scored to the league average. So basically, what we want right here is an upwards trend. The more you pay for your batters, the more they're supposed to produce. And you can see, although there is not a strong trend, there's obviously a trend. The more you pay, you kind of do reap the benefits. But for these teams, they seem to have the right amount of stuff going for them, where they're actually paying less and still doing just slightly. They're paying about half, and they're only doing slightly worse than the league average. And when they pay more, they do better. Now, when we take it to the pitching tab, it's completely different. On the bottom we have here, it's similar to the batter. We have pitching salary over the league average, and then we have earned runs to the league average. Now, when we take a look at it, there is really no correlation. It's pretty much a straight line. The amount you pay for the pitcher, if you pay to the league average, it's going to give you the same production paying more. Obviously shown by this straight line right here. Could this possibly be because, your best pitcher, which is probably your highest paid pitcher, is only out there maybe 1 out of every 5 games? That's exactly what it is, Mark. Your pitcher's only going to play 1 every 5 games, whereas your hitter is probably going to play every single game. So it seems like it's more cost effective and damn right cost efficient if you just go for the batters to get those runs. Well, Mark, the numbers don't lie, and that's what it's showing. Well, that concludes our baseball segment here on George and Mark in the Morning. Hope you guys thought it was fun and interesting, and kind of got a little brief understanding of, how the baseballs and the numbers really correlate and go together. Join us tomorrow morning for another edition of George and Mark in the Morning.